Sup, you beautiful bastards. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show. Hope you had a fantastic Sunday. Feeling a little under the weather today, but luckily I got some help for today's show. So with that said, buckle up, hit that like button to give the sick boy some love, and let's just jump into it.
You're just a troll. You're going and you're seeking out people to bother. I honestly think, not to play shrink, but it has to do with what was clearly an unhappy childhood that you had.
Hail Satan.
So my guy there with the gnarly as fuck scar across his eye is a fellow by the name of Lucian Greaves, co-founder of the Satanic Temple. Not to be confused with the Church of Satan, with which it has deep doctrinal differences. But when he's not busy pissing off Tucker Carlson, he's advocating for the Prince of Darkness himself right here in America. My attention was first drawn to him and the temple a few weeks ago when Sam Smith performed Unholy at the Grammys. Because while my reaction was, this feels a little try-hardy, and I rolled my eyes at the same time, right-wing pundits and politicians from Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro to Ted Cruz and Marjorie Taylor Greene seemingly saw the devil horns and lost their fucking minds. With some even drawing a connection to Pfizer's sponsorship of the event, seeming to imply there was some kind of evil conspiracy between vaccine producers, Hollywood elites, and Satanists. And it's that kind of thinking that we saw during the satanic panic of the 80s. But also, even the more reasonable among us get our impression of Satanism from depictions in popular culture, with books and movies like Rosemary's Baby, The Exorcist, and The Omen, not to mention whatever your parents told you growing up. And so I thought, let's cut through all the bullshit. Let's just ask a Satanist himself, what do you believe? And so we started with the most obvious question. Do you actually worship Satan? And as Lucian explains, the answer is complicated.
Well, we're non-theistic, which is to say we openly state that we do not believe in a literal Satan. Satan is a metaphorical construct to us. Satan is a literary character that kind of embodies our values and is kind of a narrative structure that contextualizes our works as a community.
Now, naturally, when some people hear that, they conclude that the temple is just a joke, an ironic performance, some sort of legal loophole, but not a sincere religion. But Lucian says that although most Satanists don't endorse supernatural beliefs, they still take the values of their religion seriously, as well as its rituals and practices. At least as seriously as any other religion, which he argues doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot.
If you see a distinction, an irreconcilable distinction between our beliefs and their validity, and the validity of those from theistic organizations that espouse supernatural beliefs, you're probably giving way too much credit to supernatural beliefs and not enough to rationality and reason.
And apparently, the government agrees because in 2019, the IRS officially designated the Satanic Temple a religion, granting it tax-exempt status just like any other church. To which at this point you might be thinking, but Phil, what about the baby eating and the human sacrifices? That's gotta be illegal, right? Well, of course, except that's all nonsense.
We have our own affirmative values, but because of this history of mythology surrounding Satanism, you're often confined to describing what you're not, and that you don't engage in ritual sacrifice, that you're not running human trafficking rings and things like that, nor do you endorse that kind of behavior.
He explains that Satanism tends to be more of an oppositional force against the more mainstream religious institutions that ironically commit the very crimes that they accuse Satanists of.
It seems that in a lot of instances, accusations of Satanists doing things that they never did are more of a reflection of more entrenched institutions actually engaging in these things and trying to externalize it on some fictitious entity.
They also object to those institutions on theological grounds.
The Ten Commandments demand again and again that there's one God only and one true path and one religious banner that should be flown above all people. For us, we stand more by values of pluralism and a type of flexibility that allows for differences in beliefs. And we're fine with the idea that not everybody is going to identify as a Satanist and not everybody should.
But that's not to say that Satanism doesn't have any beliefs of its own. It does. In fact, its affirmative values are laid out in the temple's 7 tenets. And you can pause and read the list here. I'm not going to read them all out for you, but essentially they espouse the values of compassion, justice, bodily autonomy, free speech, science, and a belief in human fallibility, with a special emphasis on opposing arbitrary authority, be it religious or political or both. And that actually reflects the origins of modern Satanism and the romantic movements of the 17th and 19th centuries, with artists recasting the devil as a heroic rebel against God's tyranny, with arguably the most famous depictions that scholars still debate being Milton's Paradise Lost, in which Satan remarked, "'Tis better to reign in hell than serve in heaven." Satanists also look to Lilith, Adam's first wife before Eve, according to some Hebrew myths, as an empowering feminist figure, with her considering herself equal to her husband Adam, seeking knowledge denied to her by God and rebelling against patriarchal authority. So when Lucian co-founded the Satanic Temple with Malcolm Jari in 2013, he put those more left-leaning politics into practice. So to kick things off, he staged a mock rally in support of then Florida Governor Rick Scott to protest a law allowing voluntary prayer at public school functions. He had people expressing how grateful they were to Scott for allowing their children to worship Satan in school, as well as a banner reading, "Hail Satan, hail Rick Scott." The temple then went to the grave of Fred Phelps' mother, at him being the late founder of the extremely homophobic Westboro Baptist Church. And there, he had same-sex couples kiss over it, with Lucian teabagging it in a ceremony to turn her lesbian in the afterlife, also vowing to turn Phelps himself gay when he died. But in addition to all of that, the temple's best known for its more impactful activism, like most famously when Oklahoma put a Ten Commandments monument on the Capitol grounds, arguably breaking the separation of church and state. So the Satanic Temple said, hey, we've got this 7.5-foot tall statue of Baphomet, the winged goat-headed god. Mind if we just plonk that down next to your display? But before they actually got to do that, the state Supreme Court ruled that the Ten Commandments was illegal, so the temple packed it up and instead took him to Arkansas, because there, the state capitol also had a Ten Commandments monument, and the lawsuit over that is still being hashed out, with Lucian saying this is about more than just a statue.
Sometimes people look at that and say we're merely being provocative just to piss off the Christian organizations, but to us it goes a lot deeper than that. To us, it's preserving the very fundamentals of a functioning democracy. And if you allow one viewpoint to take over the public square, you have, in fact, given it the endorsement and the authority of government institutions. So to us, having that equal placement is no small thing, and it's not any bit of a laughing matter.
So the temple has fought against religious favoritism wherever they see it. Or they've done things like responding to an evangelical group, distributing Bibles to students throughout a school district by handing out their own satanic coloring books, or countering evangelical after-school programs with their own after-school Satan clubs, as well as requesting to fly the satanic flag outside Boston City Hall alongside a Christian flag, also asking to perform satanic invocations at city council meetings where Christian prayer typically opens the event. The temple's also gotten involved in more high-profile political issues too, like in 2017 when it asked its members to order cakes praising Satan from homophobic bakers. And more recently, it actually sued states like Indiana and Idaho for violating its religious liberty with their post-Roe abortion bans. Right, because according to the temple, abortions are just part of a satanic ritual. And to that effect, it launched what it officially titled Samuel Alito's Mom's Satanic Abortion Clinic. And with that, people can get telehealth appointments and have prescription abortion meds shipped to them discreetly through the mail. But that's also not the only service that the temple provides to the public. You also have what it calls Sober Faction, basically Alcoholics Anonymous minus all the Christian stuff. And notably, it actually fulfills any court orders too. There's also Grey Faction, an arm of the temple that goes after medical professionals who still peddle pseudoscience popularized during the Satanic Panic, such as the practice of extracting so-called repressed memories of satanic ritual abuse from mental health patients. So to combat this, the temple appeals to authorities like licensing boards and the American Psychological Association. But also, like any religious organization, the temple does more than just the serious stuff. Right? There's artistic performances, charity drives, and most famously, black masses. Events like one in Brooklyn that for the first few hours you had DJ Kamikaze Tomato playing music, everyone then filing into a much smaller room dimly lit by red lights, where they do what's been described as a mock communion with an unbaptism next up, in which people renounced Christ and undo the ritual they argue was forced upon them by their parents. And then they, of course, burn in hell for eternity. No, but essentially this has been described to me as kind of like an expression of personal liberation, rather than something that's just meant to like provoke or offend regular church-going Christians.
On an interpersonal level, the congregations do meet, people have events, they engage in ritualistic behaviors. And some people, I think that's just fun or social. But for some people, things like black masses have a profound psychological function. At early phases of breaking yourself out of religion that's been impressed upon you and indoctrinated into you, engaging in that kind of blasphemous activity can be very liberating and personally empowering.
And that catharsis he describes is arguably most important now because, as Lucian explains,
even though the Satanic Panic of the 80s and 90s is typically viewed as existing only there within a certain time frame, it never really died.
And that little cliffhanger is actually where I'm going to leave you, because we've got a part 2 to this story coming out soon. With that one going to be focused on experts who explore the history of moral panics, explain how we got where we are now, and see what all this reveals about us as humans and as Americans. So make sure you're subscribed so you do not miss that. And in the meantime, if you're interested in the Satanic Temple, it actually has over 700,000 members. You can be one of them. I'm not recruiting for them, but I'm letting you know. They even have a SatanCon 2023 coming up this April in Boston. But with all that, I'll now pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts here? And then, are you looking to level up your wardrobe with comfortable, stylish, yet affordable pieces built to last? Well, let me tell you about the fantastic sponsor of today's show, True Classic. True Classic is the premium men's brand for your everyday essentials like t-shirts, long sleeves, hoodies, activewear, and more. They offer 3-packs, 6-packs, even 9-packs with tons of color combinations to choose from. And I just love the simplicity of their pre-assembled outfits to make pairing and layering easier than ever. Yo, these tees are buttery, soft, super durable, and made with a tagless design for maximum comfort. I like that they fit you in all the right places, tighter fit in the arms and chest, tapered, looser fit in the midsection. True Classic has True Fit custom sizing, allowing you to customize your fit on a sliding scale to match your unique body proportions. The fabric is absolutely quality, and no matter how many times you wash it, the True Classic fits won't shrink or shred. And let's not forget the bomber jacket. It's got a killer look, and the materials are top-notch. So if you beautiful bastards are looking for more affordable quality clothing, go to trueclassictees.com/Phil and use my promo code Phil25, and you'll save an extra 25%. True Classic. anything but basic. And then, so as Gen Z started coming of age, they got the reputation of being these social media savants and political activists. And that makes absolute sense as they've led massive movements like March for Our Lives and climate protests, and they're incredibly open about so many issues like even mental health. They're a generation that many believe stands for progress and change on a number of fronts. But as far as how did Gen Z manage to harness so much influence and what does it mean for our political landscape, it's a big question right now. And so that's why we talked to Mindy Romero, the founder and director of the Center for Inclusive Democracy at the University of Southern California, as well as Olivia Juliana, a 20-year-old activist from Texas who's the director of politics and governmental affairs of the nonprofit Gen Z for Change, who you also might recognize as being the absolute BAMF who raised over $2 million in abortion aid funds after Matt Gaetz body shamed her. When she spoke, she made it clear that she thinks that her peers are largely a product of the world that they were raised in. They grew up during a recession while school shootings have plagued the nation, and most don't remember a time before 9/11. And on top of that, their lives were dominated by a tech boom, right? We went from computers to cell phones to smartphones at such a rapid rate during their childhood. So you combine the global trauma with the dawn of the digital age and you get Gen Z.
And I think those two things side by side have kind of created this generation that were the victims of a lot of horrible tragedies, who at the same time are also hyper aware of everything that's going on in the world and what powers they actually have to stop those things or to make their voices heard.
Right, and the awareness that social media creates is very key here, right? She sees it as a tool that essentially allows everyone to burst their own bubbles. Even describing her own experience where she started getting politically active while in high school, which was during the peak of a pandemic, while you had people out there protesting police brutality, and we were heading into one of the most consequential presidential elections ever. But with her growing up in a conservative family and neighborhood, she said that kind of stuff just wasn't something she frequently touched on until she became active on places like TikTok.
Social media gave me the opportunity to learn about those things. It gave me the opportunity to understand what was going on in the world and see things I might not have seen in my little small rural, Texas community. But it also gave me a voice to express things that I really never got to express because of where I grew up and my surroundings.
And she's now part of a group of young activists called Gen Z for Change who aim to mobilize civic engagement through social media activism. And what we're talking about today, it's not this unheard of thing, right? Gen Z has rightly gotten a lot of credit for their civic participation. We've seen countless headlines about how young voters helped fight off the red wave in the 2022 midterms, and it's true, they did. Their votes helped swing key races, and turnout among young people was the second highest it's ever been for a midterm election in 30 years, with 27% of people under 30 casting ballots. But still, that's standout, right? Even though it's near record participation, it's still not super high. Right? According to the Pew Research Center, the overall turnout was at 45%, so young people fell quite a bit behind that. So Romero explained,
we still need to see much higher turnout for young people. Yes, we should celebrate that it was the second highest, I think, in 30 years or so, but it's still a really low number. And so if we let that be the headline, then people might think that turnout of young people is already at the number it should be.
Though it's very important to note here that Romero doesn't think that young people are the ones to blame here. Rather, their lower turnout is a reflection of a system that fails them, because she believes that neither of the two political parties really do any sincere outreach to young voters. Instead, they use a likely voter model, which just leaves young people in the dust.
Elected officials, campaign managers, consultants will say, if we put our resources towards young people, if we try to outreach to them, they're not as likely, right, to be a good return on investment, to actually come out and vote. And so we're going to steer our money towards older, right, folks, homeowners, whiter, wealthier folks. And then when they don't turn out, we blame them. And we call them apathetic when the system has really done nothing to encourage or incentivize them to participate.
And it's a gap that Juliana sees, especially in terms of legislative action. Our young people have been calling for progress on issues like climate change and gun control for years, but often it feels like Congress just ignores their calls.
There's a lot of anger and bitterness that young people hold towards politicians and towards elected officials for that reason. And I think people confuse anger with apathy a lot of the times. The young people don't care. They're not going to get involved because they're angry. I don't think that's true.
But she knows that you can harness that anger and turn it into action. You can take that negative energy and turn it into something positive. And that's why she's so passionate about using TikTok and social media to speak directly to her peers about issues they care about, especially as young people are far more likely to vote if they hear from other young people.
We have a lot of research that shows that peer-to-peer contact, mobilization, outreach, that's the most effective. Campaigns need to do it because they're the main source of information in terms of platforms and so forth.
Because it's not that young people don't care, right? Young people care a lot. Some just participate in other ways, but don't think voting actually helps. Right? The system just hasn't made a good case to them for voting about the issues they care about, which is a gap that Romero thinks campaigns have almost no excuse for. Because even though there is some variation, a lot of the issues Gen Z cares about are in line with the rest of the country. So politicians just have to direct their messaging to younger people.
That's important because sometimes people will say, oh, young people are over here, and they're so different. There's a lot of overlap. I think just making the case and coming at it from where that young person is, making the case for why the political electoral system matters in combination with other things that they're doing.
It's an approach that can work in peer-to-peer outreach and one that can work for politicians themselves. Because Gen Z does actually want to hear from elected politicians. They just want it to be sincere and not like the forced TikTok dances thing, right? Don't meme about, oh, you ate, left no crumbs when you're leaving people with no food in their mouths. Gen Z just wants leaders to be straight with them.
We're not asking politicians, you don't have to pretend to be a huge Taylor Swift fan. You don't have to pretend like you understand who Trisha Paytas is. Just be yourself and like be honest and genuine with who you are as a person. And I think people will gravitate towards you a lot more. And I don't think it's that difficult. Just don't play a character.
The outreach to young people it's not where it needs to be. And when it is there, it's not often that it feels sincere. And as Romero explained, sometimes it's campaigns asking young people to volunteer and put their boots on the ground, but their generation gets almost nothing in return.
Often it's about like, hey, help us canvass, right? Help us, at this event or whatever. If you think about that, it's a little insulting, right, to young people, right? We want your labor, but we're not going to fight for your vote.
And to kind of add to the insult here, Democrats really kind of celebrated and even patted themselves on the back for getting young people to vote for them by such a wide margin. Right in the House, people under 30 went blue by a 28-point margin, but Romero doesn't think that the party deserves all that credit there.
It's a little bit like false praise. It's kind of like, oh yeah, thank you for your help, we love you, but we actually really didn't do anything to get you there.
While Juliana thinks that politicians have been hesitant to embrace the mediums that young people are active on, she thinks that the left is ahead of the right, at least with establishment GOP.
Honestly, they're afraid of what they don't know. I mean, that's most of their platform is, they're afraid of what they don't know, what they don't understand. And instead of looking into it, they decided to shut it down.
And Juliana said that Gen Z Republican activists have told her they think the refusal from the party to get with these times and embrace these platforms could lead to their downfall. That and maybe a couple dozen other things. But the point is that Juliana thinks there can be a return on investment when young people feel connected to the political process. In fact, some of the states with the most consequential elections in the country saw some of the highest voter turnouts from young people, like in Pennsylvania and Georgia.
I think it's this consistent organizing around young people, because if you notice, the campaigns that had really strong youth engagement, really strong youth organizing, those are the campaigns that won.
With her specifically pointing to the strong youth-based efforts in Pennsylvania, where you look at Governor Josh Shapiro's campaign, which some have actually credited to his daughter. And so looking to 2024, is that something politicians will finally take advantage of? Well, maybe not overnight, but there are paths forward to carve out more space for young voters.
What can we do? As many youth-led efforts as possible, right? Young people out there talking to young people, talking about issues that young people care about, making the case for voting on the terms that are important to young people. We need just more resources. We don't need lip service.
Well, now, with all of that said, I do want to pass the question off to you because I know a healthy majority of the people that watch are kind of the young voting base here in the States, but also to everyone else outside of that group. I'd love to hear from you as well. Let me know what you're thinking in those comments down below. But hey, while you let me know your thoughts in those comments down below, I gotta say, as we look forward to the week ahead of us, I think it's important to take a look back at the week we all just went through with a little help from our buddy, Zed Tabani. Zed?
Mic check. Hey. Okay. I live in the tabloids. You can make a lot of money preaching off a bad noise. I can hear it in my head, speaking like a bad voice, giving me advice like a rich kid, putting all his money in a bad coin. All these good men who tend to make a lot of bad points, saying for the people that they eating like a bad choice, claiming free speech like it's a club that you can't join. Same motherfuckers try to ban every pop joint. Go to war with China, make the children work. Kill the immigration, they don't have a nurse. Gaslighting footage like it's not berserk. Everything look peaceful when it's people on your side, while in the middle they're beating officers in the dirt. Tell me what's reality, the time's feared. Tell me what's reality, the line smeared. Tell me what's reality for 9 years. Cheating on your wifey with her best friends. Hope it don't make camera if their phone drops and y'all see it. Start a podcast in a car crash. Tell Pete Davidson to call that. If you getting gas, get the small crack. Eric Adams saying he want no mask, while everybody's chicken getting so vaxxed. Microchip my whole stack. When I was a kid, everything could hurt you. From Ninja Turtles here to famous people doing murder. Now it seems like history is just a fucking circle. That's why they're burning drag shows, setting up more Columbines. They don't wanna serve you what you gotta work through. They'll go undo every rule like they Netanyahu, hanging like a shitty 12 when they ride through. I'll be questioning your spirit if you tryna fly blue. I made up an AI just to go and say the right things. Pedro getting spicy with some nice wings.
I'm your daddy.
Trying to keep a smile while the ice sinks. I just started telehealth so I could lose some pounds till they like me. Do I got the right dreams like a Mike B? Was that good for cutting Yeezys for Nikes? Welcome to the country where you might need surgery to get it, go across the border where they snatch kings. Woo! We was laughing with the Redditors while they was feeding Bieber to the predators. Don't you fucking tell me about no etiquette. Free Britney while you laugh at drama with another stick. Selena V. Haley, and what was she saying? And who was you dating? And what was the rating? And who was you blaming? That shit is trash, like this little bitch at his pack. Where the fuck is Will when you need a slap? Yo, send it back like.
Hey, Joe, you on this Zed Tabani shit right now?
Bro, you fucking know I'm on that freestyle the news shit. Spin that motherfucker back and let's pop off. That's right, bitch. We out here, it's freestyle the news, motherfucker. Tell all my haters, thanks for the free engagement, bitch. Zed, you ready to cook, my boy?
Fuck around and find out. Say you hate it so much, never sign out. I've been sitting on the edge, gotta climb down. For a turn me into Adam with a meltdown. Here they wanna drop out in a Lone Star. Molotovs at the back of a cop car. America's doing great as a train yard. Get some new shoes, buy a Beast Bar. Get some Jesus, buy a weed farm. Not an okay, smoke a cigar. Go to Starbucks just to get charged. Getting fired off a tweet, no HR. Elon, this is not the battle you should be on, beyond. Your server's looking brittle to his peons. The guy you tried to shit on was the person of the year and disabled in his fingers when the dystrophy appeared. So here's a couple L's you can put into your reel. You can hang out with the Brexits when they make another deal. Ask Richie how the fuck that feel. Not great. No refugees, your whole reasoning is looking like a mess to me. Like Trump trying to drop a single on a DSP. Shit sound like it's recorded through a PS3. Yup. Mad at the cosplay, they wanted something more suitable for Kanye. The biggest moment of the war up in Ukraine. Russia hitting more civilians in the first wave. TikTok looking closer to his own grave. Paying extra for a loan and a more great. California Walgreens on a big break. Run away from everything you say. Yo, what's up, Jake? Hey, all of you pussies wanting the war of a culture. You motherfuckers ain't even making the board. I've been saying shit every year that you bitches couldn't afford. Get woke, go broke. You motherfuckers are poor. Real talk, haters, I needed a little more. The engagement looking good, so say whatever you want. Like my man K, I made it coming up short. And if you got a fucking problem, put a BT4. Come on.
Too soon?
Yeah. Let go.